Welcome back, everyone, to another Aramaic Bible study. These Bible studies are intended for students of the Aramaic language in its many dialects, as well as those who are interested in Scripture in general and the Eastern Christian tradition of Scripture in particular. Today, we will be looking at the Syriac Pshito version of Matthew chapter 2, verses 19 through 23. So I like to begin in the two different accents. In the white on top is the Western Syriac accent. In the blue below is the East Syriac accent. So I'll begin reading with the Western accent. Kadmithin Herodes Malko Ethzi Malachod Morio Bahelmo Legiausef B'Masrin. And now in the Eastern accent. Kadmithin Herodes Melka Ethachzi Malacha de Maria Bechelma Leyausef B'Masrin. But when King Herod was dead, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt. Verse 20, first in the Western accent. Wemarle Qum Davar Latalia Le'eme Uzel Ar'od Yisrael Mithu Lunger Onun Deboin Wa Nafshed Tatalio. And now in the Eastern accent. ومرلي قوم دفر لطاليا والأمة وزل أرعاد إسرائيل ميتو لونجير هانون دبعين واو نافشة دطاليا. And he said to him, Arise, lead the child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead who sought the life of the child. Just to bring your attention to this word here, nafshe or nafsho, as it is in Syriac, nafsha, Nosha, another way of saying it, all the same thing. Here, they sought the life of the child. So what's interesting about this word, you may know it from Hebrew if you're a student of Hebrew, as nefesh, in Arabic nefs. And yes, it does mean life. It means a number of things. The soul, we could say, and we should say, it's the soul of something, the force, the life force of something, right? And so what's interesting in Semitic languages, and you'll find this in the Hebrew Bible as well as Syriac, this word is not just an immaterial soul, but it's also the soul as it is bound to a corpse or a body, right? And so the concern is not whether it's immaterial or material. The concern is about the identity of the person. And so it's one of these words that's Semitic that doesn't have a direct Greek equivalent. It might have a couple words that would fit in later, studies, philosophy, Christology, and theology more generally. You're going to get different sets of terms in Greek, but in Aramaic, this term means a number of things that we could pin down in English, but all around the identity of the life of a thing or a person, right? And so the nafsho here, nafshe is the life of the child, right? Verse 21, first in the Western accent. ويوسف قوم دفر لطاليا ولأمه وإثو لأرعود إسرائيل. And now in the Eastern accent. ويوسف قام ودفر لطاليا ولأمه وإثو لأرعود إسرائيل. And Joseph arose and led the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. Now, one nice thing about using scripture to study language, for those of you who are students of Aramaic, is the way the scriptural narratives, whether it's Old or New Testament, the way they play out, there tends to be a lot of repetition. And so just like a couple verses ago, we're getting that sort of rhythm. And now it's starting to be easier to read the text because we're doing more reps of the same vocab here. Now, verse 22, first in the Western accent. كادن شماد أرخلاوس وملكو بيهود حلوف هيرودس أبوي تحل دنيزال دامون وثزيلي بحلمو دنيزال لثرو ذغليلو. And now in the Eastern accent. كادن شما درخلاوس وملكا بيهود خلاب هيرودس أبوي تخل دنيزال تامان وتخزيلي بحلما دنيزال لأثرو ذغليلا. But when he heard that Archelaus was king in Judea instead of his father Herod, or in the place of his father Herod, he feared to go there, and it was revealed to him in a dream that he should go into the land of Galilee. And now finally, verse 23, Weitho amar bamdito the mithkario nosrat, aich the nithma lemedem, dethe marbanbio the nosroyo nithakre. Now in the Eastern accent. Weita amar bamdita the mithkaria nasrat, aich the nithma lemedem, dethe marbanwia the nasraya nithakre. And he came and dwelt in a city that is called Nazareth, so that might be fulfilled that which was said by the prophet, that he should be called a Nazarene. Well, this is a fun one. A lot of interesting things have been written about this over the years. And in particular, the idea that this couldn't be pinned down to a specific prophecy. And so it's not just, that modern scholars, or even scholars from the Reformation period onward struggled with this, but this is something that goes back even to the patristic era. And it was used, for example, John Chrysostom uses it as an example of a prophecy not found in Scripture, to give evidence more for the living legacy and the oral tradition that the early church maintained over these years. Now, what's interesting is that those fathers who were able to read the Old Testament in Hebrew, people like Ephraim and even Jerome, they tie this directly to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And so I've included that here for those of you who can read the Hebrew. I'll just go ahead and point that out. Vayatza choter migez'a yeshai, v'netzer misharashav yefre. There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. So, reading chapter 11 Isaiah, there's a lot of imagery, a lot of messianic imagery there. And so this verse in Matthew is seen by the fathers as going directly to Isaiah 11:1. So, what does that mean? Well, effectively, if you're reading the Old Testament in Greek, you may think a certain way about the text. If you're reading it in Hebrew, or even Aramaic, an Aramaic Targum, you may lean a different way in terms of how you understand it. And one of the things people may not know is that the Syriac version of the Old Testament is taken directly from Hebrew. And so there's an awareness of the Semitic tradition, within the fathers who speak Aramaic, Syriac, we're talking about Syriac, of course. So the fathers who know Syriac, many of them have a strong understanding of the cognate language Hebrew, which is the cousin of Aramaic. And again, this is one of the reasons why we like to read the scripture in Aramaic or in its Aramaic dialects like Syriac, is because it reveals to us certain things that we may take for granted in the West, or maybe we lose in translation. So that's it for Matthew chapter 2. I hope you found this study beneficial. If you have, go ahead and feel free to share it with your study group, whether you are in ministry or you just study with a community of some type. If you're a student of the language, I hope this has been helpful in Syriac or maybe comparative Aramaic with things like Biblical Aramaic or older Imperial Aramaic inscription. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. This feeds the algorithm and gets these videos seen by more people. And if you have any questions or portions of the scriptural text that you would like to see discussed, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below. You can also reach me at my email address, professorwingert@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.